Comrades, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. This is of course the time after we lost our brave hero Valentina, but you know, the story must go on, just as it did in real life. There were tragedies and setbacks, but ultimately we must persevere. So, what is on the agenda for today? First of all, I want to just make a mention, of course, our other two heroes are still in orbit here, in the Voskhod 2, and here we can see a warning, and I figured out what's happening here, because they're saying the electricity is running out in 7 minutes. Now, of course, we know that cannot be true, because we have a power cell on the craft. And I went back and looked at the TAC life support page, and they actually say there that electric current is only calculated for solar panels and for generators. Now, I assume they mean the RTG, the nuclear generators there. So they do not actually take account of the power cells. So I assume that's why also we had the problem last time when we fast forwarded time, because according to TAC life support, the craft is running out of power, and I suppose ultimately it might even lead to the death of the crew, even though there is power. So let's go back to orbit and just check up on our comrades there. And here we are. So everything is going well, and now look back at the TAC life support. There's 2 hours of electricity again, so it updates as soon as we get back to the actual craft. Now if we fast forward time here, you see it is running out again until it reaches 2 hours and 4 minutes, and then it stops. So we have to actually be looking at the craft the whole time. It has to be the active craft for the calculations to actually take into account the cell here, the fuel cell. So that's an interesting observation, but we just have to keep an eye on that. But their mission is not done yet. They've only been out here for, is that now the normal mission elapsed time? Yes, it is. So 1 day and 4 hours, so a little under 2 days. And I think they can still stay up here a little while longer, just so that Bob can do all of the experiments that he needs to. You know, this is now the first time, of course, that we really have a scientist in orbit. So I'm thinking I have another thing in mind that we can do in the meantime. So let's go back to the Space Center and to the VAB, and I will meet you there, comrades. So here we are, and what is on the agenda? Well, the first thing I have to say is I'm going crazy with the mods, and I'm getting the sense that I'm taking it a bit too far here. But I've downloaded now 2 major mod packs that actually add a lot of parts to the game, and I'm wondering if it's not a bit too much, because you can see here it gets a bit confusing. But the one is, it's I forget what the actual mod is called now, but it's to add a lot more airplane parts to the game, wings and all sorts of things like that. The other one is actually adding a lot of base components. So for example, actually if we look at the pods there, we get the planetary hub here, and there's actually I think another mod that adds things like station parts for space stations. Now, of course, we're not going to be using any of these things anytime soon, but I thought I might as well experiment a little with them and just see if this could be something interesting to add to our game and sort of enhance the experience. But now I'm sort of deviating a bit from the intention to keep it a stock game. But let me know your thoughts, comrades. I'm interested to hear. So anyway, there was another thing that I did in the meantime. I put one of these planetary hubs in the South Pole, and I was thinking there's nobody there at the moment, it's just empty. But we can almost imagine this is like a training center now for new astronauts. So I think it depends. We'll see if it gets a bit too, distracting, or it takes a bit too long to execute. But If we get new crew now, which we will have to at some point soon, then we can actually send them with a plane. I'll still have to build the thing, but then we'll fly them out to the South Pole and actually send them on a sort of a training mission. We can pretend anyway, because that will begin to prepare them for the rigors of space. I think that's a nice thing to do. Anyway, for right now, we have to turn back to the present, and there, the next step in our space race timeline is the first keo-synchronous satellite, and that was Syncom 1. Now, this was a very primitive satellite. The most it could do was actually support a single two-way telephone conversation. That's it. Now, can you imagine how far we've come from those days? So I think let's do that. And I've built the thing already. I'm not sure. This has now been a few days already. Let's just have a look at it. Syncom Thor Delta. I had a look at what launched the Syncom satellite, and it was actually a Thor Delta. So I load this up. Now basically all that it means is, of course, the Thor stage is the same, but the Delta is, I guess, a bit longer here. That's the best way I could make it work. The rest of it is really the same. Then I think we have enough Delta V to pull this off. Let's just zoom in here. Now the Syncom satellite was a very, very primitive thing. It was basically a cylinder with solar panels all around, and then 4 antennas on the bottom and 1 antenna on the top, with an engine sticking out of the bottom. And you can look up the pictures on Wikipedia and other places. So I also put a camera here, of course, since we have this feature now, so we could actually get some pictures from geosynchronous or keo-synchronous orbit. Now, the real thing I don't think had cameras on it, so maybe I should actually take this off. It's not really necessary. Then let's see, what else? I have a bit of fuel. This is obviously a liquid-fueled ant engine in here, so there is a fuel tank hidden inside this Probodobodyne Audtio. Now, of course, the real thing again also did something similar. Do I have I do have a very slight wheel authority on here, and it's just because it is very difficult to sort of maneuver this upper stage at the end, and also to sort of position the satellite. Now I'm not actually sure if the Syncom had some sort of reaction wheel system, but for this case I think just for practicality we can include it, but it's very weak, so it's not really going to help the launch and all of that. So I think let's send this thing up, and I'll do what is now our custom, to just put some music on and so on. And we have to get to an altitude of, let me just have a look here, I wrote this down, 2,863 kilometers. So I would like to position this somewhere where the space center is actually in range of it. So we'll just try to do that more or less above where we are right now. So let's get into the launch sequence, and again, if there's a mishap here, I'm not going to revert, we'll just have to live with it. Alright comrades, here we are in orbit. Now that was not necessarily the smoothest orbit there, but my goal was to try and keep the inclination as close to 0 as possible, and you can see I actually need to bring it a bit closer still. just because I assume that the closer we are to a zero inclination, the more, how can I say, the more synchronous our orbit will be. Now, this is also why I included the tiny bit of wheel authority, because right now, you know, it's very difficult. Obviously, if we didn't have that, we would have zero control, and putting a reaction system on this would be, I think, a bit overcomplicated for really what we're trying to achieve here. So let's just increase the orbit at this point. Very gently. I think there's some sort of an imbalance here somewhere, because the craft keeps wanting to go towards the left here, or at least on our perspective of the nav ball. But just so that we finish this upper stage. So there we go. That's an excellent, it's 0.0 now. So let's try and not increase that again. Also, I have another mod, that's the enhanced nav ball. So maybe you noticed that it tells us when we are going to exit the atmosphere and all sorts of useful information like that. So we still have quite a bit of distance to go before we reach the desired altitude. But let me just finish this burn here while trying to keep the inclination down. Come on, just keep it steady. Okay, it's done. Ditch it. Now it's much easier to control, of course. So really, I think the goal at this point, now I don't know if I put this on yes I did, on an action group. So the goal here, I think, because we're trying to get into a position above our subcontinent, so somewhere here, and therefore I think we need to burn a bit more out on the opposite side, and then when we get there we put it up to the desired level, and then of course there we finish the burn. So let's have a look at this thing. Actually we could just do it from this side probably now. We've probably burned enough here. So let's add a maneuver. Now you can also see exactly when they say when we should burn. So this, now let me just keep this open. So that is way too high now. So our goal is 2863. So let's bring it a bit down to, oh, this is of course a very finicky thing. Actually it's 2863.33, but getting that done, I'm not sure if that will be possible. 0.33. Okay, that's generally close enough, and it puts us almost directly above our subcontinent there. I like that. So let's see how closely we can get to this burn. And then, you see, this is also where the reaction system helps, because now if we used monopropellant to turn the craft, it would most certainly interfere with those orbit calculations. Now, according to this thing, it still says there's not available estimated burn. Let's turn this engine on. So it says now 74 seconds. Now, I don't think the stock game actually gives you this calculation. So we'll see if this is correct. It should be. We also see now again the stars are more or less behaving properly. When you look at the sun, they should basically disappear, and when you look away you should still see them. Of course it's daytime now. But yes, that was a thing I was wondering about earlier. Now again we see them. So obviously it's, you know, mods are not perfect. So let's fast forward time until we get to our position. Where are our comrades? Let's have a look. Are they nearby? Good grief, I'm really going to have to reclassify some things as debris here. You see, there's the base that I put on the South Pole. We can see if we can use that in a later episode. Ah yes, the Voskhod is actually directly below us. Can we actually see the thing? Wait, there it is. Oh my goodness, I actually see the little dot moving there. That is so awesome. Maybe, no. Let's take a picture anyway. Just for our memories of this whole experience. That is so awesome, this distant view. There they go. Wow, I'm so in love with this game. Absolutely brilliant. Now 74 seconds, so what does that give us? 37 then? But they will tell us here, but that's when these little dots run out. Then we should burn. So we don't even have to do those calculations anymore. So these last 3 big dots here are single digits. I think these are 5s probably. So we're getting close. We are pointed right. 3, 2, 1, burn. And it was 37. So let's see how close we get. This is of course also where you want a very weak engine, because these are very fine adjustments we have to make. Magnificent view. It's interesting because the screen still, you know, or the stars still dim because the sun is behind the planet and the game thinks we're looking at the sun. But anyway, so we're halfway through and let's have a look. I think we're actually very well aligned. There goes the debris. 1 hour 32 minutes before we have to check in with the Voskhod again. Slight adjustments here. Okay, get ready. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cut it. It did move a little there, so we'll have to make some small adjustments. So let's see, what's the figure? 2839. What do we need? 2863. So let's boost it a little bit more. Okay, now we're getting really close and the engine is actually still a bit too powerful. There, okay, that's good enough, comrades. Obviously there'll be some fluctuation or libration within the orbit, so we'll never get it perfectly right. 2863.3. So that's, I think, good enough, especially for a first keo-synchronous satellite. Now, of course, on the other end, we need to do exactly the same thing. And that's really what will lock us into place. So let's see, if we just bring it up, obviously when it flips, that's when it's in the exact right place. But now our node must also be positioned perfectly. Then, what is it? 29, no, has to come down. This we can also fine tune once we get to the position. This will change things around a little bit, but that's fine. How much power do we have? Oh, more than enough. There, lock that in, and in 1 hour and a half we should burn. So you can tell our orbital period is not matching the 6-hour rotation of Kerbal yet. Oh, I never get tired of this. Never, never. Speed it up more and drop. Oh, they're already complaining about the Voskhod in 5 minutes. This is a problem. Later on, obviously, when we use solar panels, it won't be a problem anymore, but I think right now I have to switch back to them. I'm just afraid if I don't do that, they might actually die. So let's just switch back. Now it recalculates. As you can see, we're back to 209 and we still have lots of liquid fuel and oxidizer, so the fuel cells are really efficient. Now we can just switch back again. Okay, there we go. So the calculations are still locked in here. That's a good thing. Keep it on the 90. Our inclination is almost non-existent, and then we can fast forward again. So this one is about 15 seconds. Oh, we missed. Oh, good grief. Fine-tuning will be necessary now. Oh, and we're not even near where I thought we would be. Oh, good grief. Of course, it's because the planet rotates as well. Oh well, then I guess the first satellite that's in a synchronous orbit is not going to be above the space center. Oh well. In real life, Syncom 1 was a failure as well. They actually lost signal with the thing as soon as it finished its burn. Keep it steady. Okay, now let's have a look at it. So for the future, obviously I have to keep in mind that we have to also account for the rotation of the planet. So oh dear, yes, now it's going to be a bit of an issue to get this thing right. But let's use the maneuver nodes. So let's open these up and have a look. 2863. Oh dear, no, this is, I need to use the radial buttons. Not the easiest thing, comrades. I think what I might actually do is just wait until we get to the other side, or I can boost that and then we can readjust the apps here. So 2863, let's just get that one right. Now it's obviously boosting the other one. Let's get the radial out. And see if that will help. Yes. Nope. Obviously that's shifting the whole thing now. That's why I'm so in awe of the people who just launch multiple satellites into a synchronous orbit. It's not always the easiest thing. Okay, I think let's wait till we get to the peri-apps and then adjust the apo-apps. It's just going to be easier, and then do the same again, vice versa. So let's get to, I'll actually just put it, oh dear, now that we're going to have another problem again with the Voskhod running out of power. Where is that actually, let's just unlock this. I'm not seeing that button here. That's interesting. Okay, lock it back. And can I actually just have a look at that? Okay, it's not actually visible here because they obviously don't show it for a craft that doesn't have life support, but I do need to keep an eye on that now. Oh dear, well, let's just fast forward. They will give us a warning, but I'll have to stop as soon as it does. There, okay, electricity is running out. Let's switch back again. And they are fine. So the electricity is now recalculated. This gets a bit tedious, I have to say. It's unfortunate that the mod doesn't actually account for the fuel cell. Oh well, let's go back to the satellite again. And now we can actually go to the peri-apps and do what we have to do. Okay, that's good. So let's have a look at this. The other side is actually quite close already. Just flip to the retrograde. You see, this is a thing you have to have lots of patience for. Already passed again. Oh, good grief. I'm gonna have to downrate the engine here. Again, though, it doesn't matter. We don't have to be so precise. Let's just bring it down. It's going to help a lot. We can pretend that was part of the programming. Come on, 6-3. Okay, and then 3. That's good enough. That's almost 3-3 anyway. So now let's go to the apoapse. Again, I'll have to jump back to the Voskhod and then we can finish this thing. Okay, it stops. So good grief. Depleted. Let's hope they're not dead. Ah, goodness gracious. Well, luckily not, but you never know with these things, especially when time warp is involved. So they've spent another day basically now in orbit. I just want to finish the satellite thing, then we can bring them back. Then, where is it now? There. Okay, so continue. Good, so now let's open this up and I need to flip to the prograde again and then just boost that a little bit and that will be that. So that's why, you know, getting the thing above an exact point is quite difficult. You have to account for the whole rotation and there is a way of doing that, but that does take a bit of planning. Oh well. This is more than good enough for the first one. Oh, the alarm is going off. Let me just dismiss that. It's gonna flip. Okay. 2863.3, 2863.3. That's it. Shut down that engine. And then just face us up. Although again in space there is no up, but just for our sake. So that the panels are always facing the sun, no matter where it is in the orbit. And that's that, comrades. There is Syncom 1. Now let's just take a nice picture for the thumbnail here. Great, and we can actually have a look at this. Of course, again now the whole Voskhod thing is a problem. But now if we just have a look, so we are over the crater sea there. So it should stay directly underneath us the whole time. Electricity running out, but you could see the effect there. So this part here, this peninsula, I actually call the Great Bendy Peninsula. But anyway, the crater is right there, so we are staying in position. So we can imagine this satellite is almost like a test bed, but it can serve like a basic function here, maybe connecting some distant cities on this part of the planet. But really, with one telephone conversation, there's not much you can do. But we can always imagine. Now, let's go back to the Voskhod. Okay, there we are. So, I think their mission is now basically over. They've been up here for just over 3 days now, which I think is good enough, at least for a first sort of test. I know I wanted a bit longer, but this whole fuel cell thing is a bit of a problem. Oh well, we can come back. We'll send another mission. So let us plan our re-entry now. I would actually like it if we could land in the desert here. So that would mean doing the burn somewhere here. We can actually plan this out very nicely. Let's say like that. So we can now time warp to roughly that position. Again, this doesn't matter too much. Let's hope the electricity isn't running out. Where is the TAC thing now? The TAC life support is missing. Strange. I'll have to look at that. Then just fast forward a little bit more. There, that's good enough. So, retro. And there it is again. Okay, so we just don't see it in map view, which is interesting. Alright, so they are ready to come back. They've done a lot of good research, and let us ignite that engine. Just make sure the staging is correct here. And we can monitor from the map view. I'll close this. We don't need to see that. We can now actually follow the real orbit. Uh-oh. Oh, that was just the very initial pass. We need to burn more. So they would have gone around the planet. There we go, that's the target. So let's try and avoid this mountainous area and go for somewhere here. There, that should be perfect. Now we can actually already separate here. What is the first? It's going to dump this thing, then it's going to dump the one at the top. Now again, comrades, I'm going to have to remember here about that little retro rocket thing. So I'll have to pay attention to that. But I'm going to fast forward this process again, and then I'll see you back on the ground. Let's just ditch this thing. Now, do we have full power? Yes, we do, because obviously we'll lose the fuel cell now. Now, obviously, this will change the orbit slightly. Oh well, it's still more or less where we want, but really this shows we should ditch that when we're entering the atmosphere. So let's dump this thing, and then just forward. So welcome back, comrades. That was an absolutely stunning re-entry. I'll never get tired of watching that, especially with the mods. Now you can see we're moving a bit faster than we did with the previous re-entry because we're a bit higher up. You can see the altitude there is, obviously this is sea level, so we can see that I need to monitor this other one. So, in this case, I would definitely expect disaster if we did not have the retro rockets. So I'm going to have to really focus on this, and I'll trigger it, I think, just after the 10 meters, so that we just, I think really what happened with the last one, even though it was excellent, was obviously once the retro rockets fire, it slows us down, and then it burns out, and then we start accelerating again. So I would ideally want the rockets to burn out by the moment that we touch the ground. Now, of course, getting that perfect is impossible, but we'll see. So I always enjoy the deserts. There's just something about them. Now we are out 120 meters, so let's focus on this thing. So 76, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There. So you could see we drifted a tiny bit there, but that was fine. Absolutely stunning landing there. So thank you for watching, comrades. I'll see you in the next episode. I hope you're enjoying still, and do leave me some feedback. Thank you for watching again, and have a fantastic day.